Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Stormworks, and we got a new build today. So I've got something really interesting, something a little bit different. I think a lot of you will enjoy this, but probably not really expect it. Now I know you see the turret ring. It's definitely not a turret. You can probably tell from the thumbnail what we're building, I'll be honest, but we're not building a tank. Obviously, we're building a giant bucket wheel excavator. Well, I am going to kindly refer to throughout this series as an earth mover. But yeah, so the big inspiration for this would be probably the baggers. I mean, if you want to Google them, there's a few pretty cool, really big bucket wheel excavators in Germany made by ThyssenKrupp. You can look them up. They're the bagger series, but I'm kind of going for that style. Now, we're not going to do an exact replica. You guys know I don't usually do replicas, but you know, it's something that I've been wanting to play with for a long time. I've always wanted to make one of these, and I was messing around with spinning bucket wheels the other day. Well, not the other day, quite a while ago now, but with Jack, the mod in my Discord, and me and him seem to have figured out how to get it to work. So fingers crossed that this bucket wheel excavator will actually work when it's done. And for those of you who don't really know what I'm talking about, I'll switch to some footage right now of us kind of looking at the current build. It's nowhere near done, so please keep that in mind. It's not even close to being done, but this gives you a little bit better of an idea for the silhouette that we have and how complicated of a build this is really going to be. Sorry, words are hard. Anyways, yeah, this is the earth mover. So you guys can see there's a lot going on. I'm not going to explain it all right now. We will do that while we build throughout the episodes, not just this episode. But in this first episode, we got to get the big base to the excavator down, and this is just going to be a meal doing a lot of copy and pasting. I'm going to be honest. I'm playing around with shapes, but the scale I'm kind of struggling with. So I kind of keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. But that's okay. I do encourage you all to do that. Really play around with the scale. Make sure you get the scale right. The scale is a pretty tricky thing to land, and you guys can see right now, this is way too short, and it also should probably be wider. So we're going to make this thing way bigger than it is right now. This is just the size of like a large excavator. We need it to be the size of like a building, a moving building, basically. So yeah, that's going to be kind of the game plan for this episode is I want to get the base done. And then if we have time, maybe we'll move on to the tracks and the turntable on the top. But for now, we are just getting this part of the basically the frame of the earth mover fleshed out in this episode. So that's kind of the game plan. If you guys didn't see, on further news, if you didn't see, I just did release the submarine. So the submarine is on the workshop. But if you guys haven't checked that out, go check it out. Go show that some love. There should be a link to my Discord below. I'll try to add a link to that too if I remember, to the workshop. But if not, in my Discord, there's a bunch of links to it. So anyways, that would be pretty cool if you go and check that out. Let me know what you think of the sub there. Not in the Steam comments. I cannot stand the Steam comments. But if you guys have anything really worth saying, then Discord would be the place to do it. Obviously, don't ping me, please. That's one of the rules. But yeah, all ears. And I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this build. To my knowledge, there's been a few of these done, but they're not really functioning. They're more of just static art pieces. This is going to be fully functioning. And the crazy thing about this is, in theory, you will be able to mine actual ores out of the ground with it. Now, I've tested it at scale, not with the current build, but I have tested basically the entire conveyor system on the current build, and all of that works. So as long as the bucket wheel still works, we should be fine. And we'll go over all of that in a later episode, obviously. There's a lot to kind of talk about there. The bucket is not really my creation. I'll just kind of tip my hat off to Jack once again there. I did the small scale thing, but he's really good with the XML. You guys know I kind of stay away from it in general. It's not that I like really hate it. It just, a lot of my creations are really big. And if I got caught up on XML, I already take 6 months to build these. So you guys would be waiting a year plus in between creations. I don't want to do that. So anyways, he did the bucket wheel because there was a lot of XML to it, but it isn't modded. It is just normal base Stormworks. So that is kind of cool. But anyways, enough of that. I'm kind of going on a rant right now, and we're not really doing much here. We're just kind of building the frame in the background. I told you guys I'm going to play with the proportions a lot. You can see I'm making it longer and wider here. But we're going to just have to keep messing around with it and looking at the silhouette and whatnot. But I'm going to hit you guys with a time lapse, and I will be back in just a few minutes.
retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. Boil up with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring them to their knees. Take for their disease. Just like a weed, spread into the streets. It's time to make them bleed. 'Cause we just want retribution. Let's go light up the darkness. Make true of an empty promise. Flip gods into weak and harmless. Take to the streets and turn them to a mosh pit. 'Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.
All right, we got the emo time lapse out of the way. Let's go. And proportions are looking a little bit better. We're still a little skinny, but that is basically where we started. So that's kind of a funny little comparison right there as to how off I was on the original size. So, and we're going to make the one on the left even bigger because it is still not big enough. Like I said, it needs to be quite a lot wider. But yeah, we'll nothing the old copy paste tool can't fix for us once again. So the plan is the tracks are going to be electric drive. So the drive unit is going to just be an electric motor inside that hub right there. And then basically from there, it's just going to be powered by a generator following what is it? Earth mover. Sorry. Good God. Brain fart. Anyways, so if you remember the footage that I showed you at the beginning of the video of the current build, there was kind of this like this trailer thing following the earth mover. And that is basically going to be the power unit. So that thing is just going to be a generator. It's also built there specifically as a counterweight for the entire machine. So basically the entire machine is front heavy, obviously, with the giant bucket hanging off of it, 15, 20 meters in front of it. So it's pretty front heavy, so that the rear trailer is basically going to act also as like a counterweight for the whole system, as well as it's going to isolate the power and in the fuel and all of that. So it's going to kind of leave a level of safety. Now, I thought about playing around with making the tracks turret rings, and now that is a sort of fun idea, and it's doable. We are going to keep the actual turret rings, but what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to have some weird complicated drive unit. So you'll see, I'm going to play around with having actual drive shafts in this thing. It's just not worth it, especially if we're going to do electric drive. There's like literally no reason to not just put the motor in the hub. So that is something that we will be kind of dealing with. And yeah, we're going to once again go on expanding the silhouette of this thing because it is not big enough. And that is basically just going to consist of us, again, moving it wider in pretty much all dimensions. So I was pretty off on the original guess on the dimensions, but this is something that I'm not basing it on anything, like I said earlier. So it's really just all kind of going by feel, which is why I keep spawning it into the world also. The world, obviously, I get a lot better of a sense for the scale of the vehicle with my dude standing next to it than in the workbench. So that's kind of why you guys see me keep popping in and out of the workbench. That's kind of a bad habit that I've always done in Stormworks. So don't do that if you build. Be better than me and just actually check things before you spawn it in. And I just check things by spawning it in. And it's honestly not a really great use of my time, but that's okay. Anyways, had to make this a little bit wider so we can get a hatch in there, but I want there to be hatches in there to basically access the motor so you can maintenance the motor. And that's obviously it's a pretty large piece of machinery. So it's pretty likely that the motors down there are going to need to get maintenance. It's also pretty likely that they'll need to get changed. So I do want to have the hatch down there. Not that you really can change them in the game, but theoretically speaking, that gives you access. You can make it fit. Now, once again, I think that this thing is too skinny, but kind of annoying thing of building this base is it is symmetrical on all four sides, but you can only set the symmetry in two ways, or in one plane in Stormworks. So we've kind of got double duty to do here for a little bit, at least until this base is done. The rest of it's not really going to be symmetrical forward to back, as you guys could assume. But this frame for the excavator is going to be quite symmetrical. So yeah, we've just got to do a lot of copy and pasting, and the copy and paste tool didn't clear those blocks out, so I got to delete them manually. But there we go. We're starting to look a little bit better. We've got a little bit more structure on those hubs down there. And that is definitely looking a little bit better, looking the part. But once again, I think we're basically going to have to do the old copy pasta and make this whole thing wider. So let's bring this out. We're going to go one block for now. And we're just going to acknowledge that this is probably going to be wrong. And I'll probably have to extend it a little bit more. But, for now, I just want to kind of check it out, give it a look. Anyway, so we know we're probably wrong once again. Been wrong most of this episode, actually, which is probably why the building's going slow. But let's spawn this in. Let's check it one more time. I am thinking the length is definitely getting there. It's looking nice and strong. So that's good. The kind of structural vibe of it is what I want. Again, not really basing it off of anything, and I'm not like a huge heavy machinery nerd, so I don't really know what I'm doing here in reference to like other equipment. But for now, we're just going to rock with this, and I'm going to do a little bit of painting before it gets a little trickier down here to paint. And then we will go ahead and start working on some of the tracks. Now, the tracks are definitely going to be kind of a project that we go back and forth with, because as you change the weight of the vehicle, they kind of get annoyed. And, Stormworks tracks aren't necessarily the most resilient things in the game. They kind of don't really like really big vehicles like this. So there's some funny things that we're going to have to do to that. And we can discuss that a little bit later on. But for now, let's get these hubs painted up. Let's get these looking a little bit nicer. I want to get the hubs painted darker just to add a little bit of contrast, just so it doesn't look like it's a fixed part of the frame in comparison to everything else. And then we can just kind of build off of here. So I need to build kind of like a wheel bogey almost. So there's going to be 4 sets of tracks. And that means that they're going to pivot around this, and that's going to act as almost the suspension. And it is kind of funny having something this large with suspension, but it is necessary to an extent. Not suspension in the way, but you need some level of articulation. Without doing this, basically you would basically go on 2 tracks or 3 tracks every time you went over a little bump. So that's not really what we want, obviously. So we're going to work on this. We're going to play around with the tracks, and again, I'm going to have to kind of play around with the plumbing and stuff and piping. So we probably won't really drive it around too much in this episode, but I want to get a set of tracks on this just so we get a better set of the scale. That'll really help us kind of pin things down scale wise. Those bogies are kind of a weird shape, but for now, that's not bad. We'll probably have to make it a little bit taller. I'll be honest. It looks a little low. But to be honest, ground clearance isn't going to be too much of an issue with this anyway. So we shouldn't really have to worry about that. Let me turn the power on those turret rings all the way down so they spin. And you can see the tracks are already doing the old hippity hoppity maneuver. So we'll have to go around and release the tension and the grip and do all that fun stuff. So you guys might be lucky enough to see me edit, 64 tank wheels. But, if not, I spared you. Just know that I spared you from that. So like I said earlier, I do want to bring these a little bit further down. So let's make this, I don't even know what you want to call this. I'm going to keep calling it the bogey. This rocker arm, I guess. I don't know. It's whatever it is. It's there, and it's there for the earth mover to articulate. But again, I want to lower the tank tracks to give the whole thing a higher appearance, a higher center of gravity, which is not a great idea. But we're also going to double up on these. So I don't know if you noticed from the clip I showed you in the beginning of the episode, but we'll double up on these tank tracks. So they'll go double wide, which will widen the entire stance of this as well, which is part of the reason I wanted to start working on the tracks, because with such wide wheels, it's really going to affect the silhouette of the overall vehicle. And since I'm not really basing this off of anything, I'm going off of vibes. I'm just vibe coding this whole thing. Like I do with most of my creations, I need to make sure that the proportions now are correct before I start putting stuff on top of it. All right. Well, guys, that is pretty much all we've got for this episode. The rest of it is pretty much just me cranking these dials. I'm sure you don't really want to check that out. So this is all the building we got for this episode. And if you guys like this series, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm curious to see what you guys think of it down below. And like I said earlier in the episode, there is a link down to the Discord and the submarine as well if you want to check that out. Anyways, guys, I will catch you all in the next episode. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.